Tim, can you hear us? Are you live? Tim, can you hear us? Well, he may have it on mute. Yeah. Just so I'm going to explain it so the audience knows. Sometimes when you're driving or whatever, you may have to keep it on mute in order for not to have all that background noise, and we appreciate that. So it may take a second for him to respond to take it off of mute. So that's why the delay there. So have a little patience and we'll get through it. So with that, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is our Tuesday, September 22nd, regular meeting of the Mason County Commission. We will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Your Honor, would you please, Your Honor, Judge Goodell, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That sounds good with all those places.
And the reason for the tongue tie is there's two, Your Honor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I am here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon.
I'm on the phone.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Jeffries.
Here.
Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Is there any correspondence to come before this commission?
Yes, there is. The Economic Development Council sent a second quarter report. Thomas Welch applied for the Veterans Advisory Board. The Liquor Control Board sent notice that Allen's Billiards and More has discontinued sales and service of liquor. The Bureau of Indian Affairs sent notice of determination of application of the Skokomish Tribe Acquisition in Trust. And Jim Reese sent an email regarding Mason County voting rolls.
Thank you. Item number 4.2, news release, Veterans Advisory Board vacancy, Commissioner Jeffries.
Thank you. Mason County is seeking applicants who are veterans and a resident of Mason County to fill 2 vacancies on the Mason County Veterans Advisory Board for a member-at-large position. The Veterans Advisory Board is an 8-member board appointed to advise the Board of Commissioners on policy related to veterans assistance. The Advisory Board typically meets monthly on the second Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the Memorial Hall, with special meetings scheduled as necessary. Advisory Board members will serve 2-year terms. Applications to serve on the board are being accepted until October 9th, 2015, and should be submitted to the Mason County Commissioners, 411 North 5th Street in Shelton, Washington. Application forms may be obtained from the Commissioner's office by calling 427-9670, extension 419, or visit our website at www.co.mason.wa.us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other correspondence or organizational business to come before this body?
That's it.
Then we'll move on to item number 5. Here's the exciting part. For all of you that don't know, there's an opportunity later where we have things on the agenda for the action agenda, of which we will be having votes on. Those are the things that are officially on the agenda. I don't see anything here for why you folks are here, so this is the part you're going to be coming under, which is our open forum for citizens input. Now, before I start, I want to make sure I don't have any issue. Normally, the way it works is there's a 15-minute maximum that is allowed, 5 minutes per person, but I'm going to ask for another 5-minute extension on that time frame. Any of the commissioners have any heartburn with that?
I agree.
Commissioner Sheldon, do you have any heartburn with me extending that from 15 to 20 minutes?
No, I do not, Mr. Chairman. I hope I don't lose you on the phone. No, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission and the public. Just so you know, you are being recorded and everything's being sent out through Mason Web TV and other ways, and you're recorded also through Hood Canal cable. So basically, you're going to be all over the place. You're going to be movie stars when you're done.
And we have our esteemed reporter from the Mason County Journal.
So if you do anything really fantastic, he'll get you, and we'll give him time to take pictures of you too. So with that being said, this is your opportunity to speak to the commission and the public on items that are not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we ask that you save that for when it comes up. You'll be given your opportunity to speak at that time and testify however you want to ask questions. But if it is not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to speak. But again, I ask that you please be brief. The reason why is there's 20 minutes maximum. There's a lot of people here. So there's 20 minutes maximum, so please be brief. The most you can speak is 5 minutes, and I have to cut you off. but I hope that you will only take a minute or so, so everybody else will have an opportunity and they don't get cut off. Some of the items that you'll be speaking about tonight may be a little different, so if you don't mind, I'm going to separate the issue a little bit. The very first ones that I will allow to speak are the ones that are not on the voting issue. They'll only take a few seconds, a few minutes time, and then we'll move to the voting issue, the reason why many of you are here. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to ask those that are not talking about the voting issue first, raise your hand, be recognized, you'll be invited to the podium. Everything is being recorded, so we'll ask that you please announce your name and tell us maybe where you're from. With that being said, is there anybody who would like to speak on an item that is not the voting related item? Okay. I thought did you want to talk about the other part of the Port of Greatview request, or?
Okay. My name is Lowell Mayhew, 410 East Treasure Island Drive, Allen, Washington. I'm a commissioner with the Port of Greatview. The item I wanted to mention, I talked to you before the meeting, was our comp scheme. It's just recently been revised and approved by the commissioners. It has a lot of detailed work into it. My request is that you take a look at that. It's on the website for Port of Greatview. The committee that we had appointed to revise the comp scheme from 2009 edition, which they did a wonderful job. It's very well spelled out on our website, and we need to get that into the county side of the comprehensive scheme so that we are able to apply and possibly get some county money to undertake our #1 project, which is our redoing of the boat ramp next to the Fair Harbor Marina.
And as we connected you with Lynn to try and get you on the SIX list and try to work on that, and then we have a public process for our comprehensive plan, which is going on every other Monday right now with our planning commission. The planning commission does it first. They go through the whole process, and then they bring it to us, and we go through a whole nother process with it. But would you like to take this opportunity to introduce your new commissioner as well?
Certainly. We have had a vacancy due to death from our District 1 area. It's around the Mason Lake area. We have volunteers stepped up. His name is John Anderson. I'd like to introduce him at this time. He will be appointed for the rest of this year and probably for 2 more years on appointment, and then he will be eligible to go under voters voting for approval. So
Okay.
we really appreciate him doing that too.
Well, welcome, commissioners, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you for listening to us.
Anybody further on an item that is not the vote-related item? Hearing none, now again, we'll open it up for your opportunity to speak to the public. And again, we ask though that you please keep it brief so everybody will have a chance. With that being said, I will recognize you first, Commissioner, and you can go ahead and please, again, announce your name and perhaps where you're from.
Thank you for recognizing me. Again, Lowell Mayhew, 410 East Treasure Island Drive, Allen, Washington. And I'd like to read into the record a short letter that our Port Commissioners has put together addressed to you, Commissioners, in regards to the matter at hand. Dear Commissioners, it has come to our attention that the Mason-Benson Community Club will appear before you Tuesday, September 22nd to voice support for law enforcement presence on Mason Lake to monitor boating activity to prevent accidents. The Commissioners of the Port of Greatview strongly supports the Mason-Benson Lake community in this effort. Whether on Mason Lake, county fresh or salt water, the mix of boating types from slow-moving kayaks to fast-moving personnel watercraft is a recipe for disaster. Last year, the port was successful in locating a no-wake buoy on the Treasure Island bridge side of Treasure Island on Case Inlet to mitigate irresponsible boaters who do not exercise common sense when operating in close proximity to human-powered vessels. While this advisory-only marker is obeyed by most responsible motorized vessel operators, there are a few who totally ignore its direction and place other watercraft in jeopardy. Mason County Ordinance 9.04.130 is routinely ignored by motorized vessel operators. It is our recommendation to place sheriff's authority on the waters of Port of Greatview area of responsibility, most especially on summer weekends when boating traffic is highest. It would be a misfortune if a devastating injury or worse, death, should occur due to avoidance of this apparent problem. Clearly, law enforcement oversight is required on the fresh and salt water located in the Port of Greatview, which includes Mason-Benson Lakes, as well as Case Inlet north of Harstein Island. We urge you to prevent voting irresponsibility by advancing funds for Mason County Sheriff's management of watercraft in our combined area of responsibility. Signed by Commissioner Glenn Carlson and Commissioner Lowell Mayhew.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank
If
you.
you don't mind, I will be calling you on this for further discussions offline because of the limited time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. With that being said, is there anybody else who would like to speak at this time in regards to the issues on the waterways out there? Please.
I'd just like to, my name is Dan Hargreaves. I'm on Mason Lake at 1391 East Mason Lake Drive. And I just want to back up what he was just saying. We really feel that the amount of money due to the Sheriff's Department for boating be properly given to them. We understand from Deputy Dugan that he is not getting the amount that he should be getting for boating to be able to purchase possibly new boats and keep his sheriffs on the lake. This past summer, we had very few sheriffs on the lake, usually on a Wednesday afternoon or something like that. But during the weekend, when it's very busy, there was almost no representation from the sheriff this year. And according to Mr. Dugan, it was because he did not have the money to properly fund the boats or the people to be there.
If you don't mind, Commissioner. Something I would like to share with you. We, as a commission, we don't dictate or direct a certain dollar amount for certain individuals or deputies. What we do a bottom line budget here where we allocate a certain amount of money. A couple of years ago, it was 8.5 million just before I came in. We are currently giving them 13 million. We've increased our budget by 43%, but it's up to the sheriff to decide where he spends the money. We can't direct him and dictate that he has to spend it in a certain way. At least not at this point, we don't have that authority.
Okay, well then, that's, according to Deputy Dugan, this is part of our reason for being here, is he thought you were the ones we need to talk to direct whoever is getting that money to give the sheriff proper money for boating, as I understood when he talked to us at the
Yeah,
public.
the sheriff is the elected official. He's the one that makes that decision. We can only give him money, as I said, and direct how much money goes into his pocket. And we've increased his budget by 43% just in the last few years.
Well, that is good, so then we need to go to another,
Well, no, still please come here and talk to us. We'll weigh in heavy. We're about to go through budget. So we'll be requesting and asking, for his opinions on that. But just bear in mind, we as commission do not have the authority to direct to him how he must.
okay. Well, we're all here mainly to see if we can, one way or another, get proper representation on the lake to just oversee some of our problems. And we have to take care of ourselves, but representation from the Sheriff's Department is very helpful.
Completely understand. Commissioner, do you have a?
No, just that I don't know how many lakes we have in Mason County and a tremendous number of miles of waterfront. I don't think it'd be possible to put a deputy per lake and then also be able to patrol 220 miles of waterfront. So I'm not quite sure what proper representation means to you.
Well, I guess we just want what we feel would be proper, and I can't tell you that right offhand, for a very busy lake. I don't know exactly how to say it, but we feel that there is possibly, we should have more representation of the Sheriff's Department on the lake than we do, so I'm not sure.
No, I understand that clearly.
And I thought I understood from Deputy Dugan that it was you folks we had to come to get him allotted money to to pay his help and buy a couple new boats. So maybe he
Now,
misdirected.
maybe boats he could, hit us up for extra funding, but that would be at the sheriff's request and where they would put it. We're looking at getting 10 more cars. And you gotta understand, when they're 50 grand a piece, that comes out to a lot of money all by itself.
Absolutely.
Currently, the sheriff's department has 106 employees, 53 of which are deputies. Or is it 56 now?
How many are at the
Four.
jail?
Pardon me?
How many are at the jail?
No, this is not counting the jail deputies. These are the actual patrol and on the beat. There are still command staff and stuff like that. They're not counting those numbers.
Well, then maybe we need to talk to Deputy Dugan again to find out, if maybe he misdirected us or I misunderstood, but I don't think so. It was, he wanted us to be here at this meeting
Well,
to,
and we will have an opportunity to be speaking with him because we've asked for an update and for some ideas on how to fix some of the issues we have on the waterways, maybe through a legislative process, through laws or whatever, things that can be enforced. So we'll be having a briefing with him on that specific subject. But as for the money, we're not going to be talking to him about the money because it's only the sheriff we talk to on that anyway.
Yes, the sheriff makes a request to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Commissioner Sheldon.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not in the meeting tonight, but I've been listening on the phone and I read the letter that was distributed to us here just a couple days ago about this issue. And I can go back to several years ago where we had a public meeting at out there at the Mesa Benson Club about the renovations that we performed for the dock and the boat ramp at Mesa Lake. So maybe a suggestion would be to pull together a community meeting out at the lake with the sheriff and talk about these resources that he has and how they're being used. Just the last comment, I was at Alderbrook a couple months ago during the summer, and I think there was either 2 or 3 sheriff's boats that were tied up at the dock there at Alderbrook. So there are some resources. I think it's a question of how they're allocated, and that would be, of course, the sheriff's responsibility to allocate those issues, or those resources. But I'd be happy to try to work with him, and I know the commission would, to set up a meeting out in the Basin Lake area.
we had that meeting with him is the reason we're here, and there's 2 or 3 boats that are tied up, according to him, don't work. That's part of the problem. He says he has 2 working boats at this time.
One dependable and one partial.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's what we got from him.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming down.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak at this time on this issue? In the back, please.
My name is Jim Madden. I live at 2711 East Mason Lake Drive East on Mason Lake. I've been a homeowner on that location since 1991. I also submitted a correspondence, which I believe Terry Jeffries has, Commissioner. I got in late, so I apologize. So didn't get a chance to get it routed around. But I'll take a different tack since the funding issue has obviously been addressed so far. I wanted to address public safety and ordinances, which I believe is under your purview. In particular, I live on the channel which connects between the boat launch, the only public boat launch on Mason Lake, and the main body of the lake. That canal is approximately 303 feet across at the mouth of it, and it branches out to maybe 200. These are based on laser measurements, so I know they're fairly close. From the ends of the docks, opposing sides of the lake, at our location, which is right at the mouth of the canal, I got measurements of 225 feet across and 261 feet across, and that's for 7 properties down the length of that mouth of the canal. There are several other locations where it is less than 300 feet across down the canal or channel. And the reason I bring that up is because boaters going through there typically run at very high rates of speed, sometimes 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. I've seen it. Diametrically head-on closing arrangements as they go through there. At the same time, there's been paddle boaters, canoers, paddle boaters, swimmers. The ordinances that's in my letter, which has already been cited, 9.04 MCC092215.130 about speed limits. There are some restrictions in that ordinance that says that no vessel shall exceed the following speeds: within 100 feet of a swimmer, 6 miles an hour; within 150 feet of shore, the mouth of the canal, no harmful wake, and not more than 6 miles an hour. Within 150 feet of any vessel not propelled by a motor, which would be canoes, paddle boarders, and everything, 150 feet. Not within 300 feet of a boat launch, and there is a public boat launch at that location. Also, water skiers go up and down the canal. There are some regulations associated with that, which I have cited. One of them is that you have to depart. If you leave from a dock, you have to depart at basically 100. You have to reach 150 feet from the shoreline before you go parallel to the shore. So if you have a 75-foot tow line with a skier and a 25-foot boat, you got 100 foot of length even before you can get the guy in the water. So what I'm saying there is there's no way to make that maneuver legally from a dock in that channel. Then there's some other ones that I've cited in here, which when you think about it, boats have to traverse that if they're using the public boat launch. People are swimming, boating. It's a very dense area on the lake. I've seen numerous near misses. I've had to replace my rock bulkhead for water shorelines erosion purposes twice since I've been there. I've had to buy a fairly expensive boat lift for my boat to keep it from being damaged as the large wakes go by there, which is, again, they're violating the requirements, 6 miles an hour, no wake. So what I'm asking you in my letter is on paragraph 5, we talked about the increase in sheriff's presence on the lake and funding adequately so that they can, again, what that means to people depends on the impact. It's the impact, it's not the value, it's the impact. So I know when there's and everybody else, most people in here know when there's a sheriff on the lake, people know there's a sheriff on the lake, people do not speed down that canal, people do not water ski that canal because they know it's unsafe and the sheriff would do something about it. I would like also request that they cause conspicuous postings at all the public launches around Mason County at all the lakes of what the rules are so that everybody knows what they are, not just little signs this big, but large placards that clearly spell out the regulations. I request that the channel be posted at the beginning and the end as a 6 mile an hour speed zone. There's no way you can operate a vessel faster than that and meet the county ordinances. There's no way. I'd like to be considered to establish that as clarification. That's a no ski zone. Can't ski in there. There's no way they can meet all the requirements of the ski ordinances. And I'd like to reinforce the ordinance 9.04.430, which says that violating the boating regulations is a misdemeanor. Sheriff Dugan didn't think he had the right to cite people, and it wouldn't be. He could write them a citation, if you will, but it's not. There's no way to enforce it, and I think that particular aspect is enforceable by that regulation ordinance, and that means that they can be fined up to $1,000 and imprisonment. Now, I wouldn't advocate imprisonment, but certainly fines get people's attention, and if they're cited and people actually enforce it and they're fined, they'll stop that behavior. So I'm asking for some help from the commissioners to affect these changes and to enforce them.
And thank you very much. And we are actually, as I said, we're actually having a briefing with Deputy Dugan to see what he can actually even pull off. Because it also makes sense that whatever we put forward, he can actually enforce and get done. Rules for no reason other than to have rules sometimes actually make it worse.
I understand that part, but obviously these rules are there, and I'm seeing the impacts where the public safety is being compromised in that channel. The shorelines and property damage is unacceptable. And we should do something as a community to make sure that those types of things aren't allowed to happen. They're there for a reason. They're not, I mean, those types of rules are in almost every ordinance around the state. I mean, I've looked, and in fact, some are even more restrictive. I don't think they're unreasonable. I think what I'm asking is that we enforce them. Figure out a way to enforce them, make them public, and I think that would make a big difference.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Is there, Commissioner, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
I don't, and thank you for your testimony. I hope that my phone holds out here, so.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Madden, I just want to share too that
Yes, sir.
I think there's a lot of things that we could do regarding signage, buoys, and then also we do have a camp or a park host there at the
Yes.
boat launch, and I think that just some education as people are launching their boats, etc. We can do all those things as well, and then I'm very interested in hearing what Mr. Dugan, or Deputy Dugan has to say about this inability to cite the violators.
I brought that up at our meeting at Mason Benson Club, and I asked him, well, how many times can you cite a person before you can do something about it? And he says, well, I could do it forever, and no way to. And so that was the response I got. I was a little disappointed in that response, and I don't know why there's a breakdown. It seems that if there is a public safety issue or property damage issue, that the citing would go out. It wouldn't be a question, and then allow the right mechanisms to take hold to institute fines for those individuals who violate repeatedly, etc. I don't think that's unreasonable.
We had that expressed that was going to be part of the conversation we're having with the deputy, like Diane. She's already had part of that conversation, so we'll find out more about that and see what we can do and what we can strengthen this. It is our intention to just let you know to go ahead and strengthen and try to help however we can.
And I want to thank you for being very explicit about your recommendations and your requests.
Oh.
It's very helpful.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anybody else? Yes, please. Now, I will say we are short on time now, so I'll ask you please make it very brief.
Okay. My name's Lynn Murdy. I'm at 1181E Mason Lake Drive East. We established a committee called Water Watch on Mason Lake approximately 5-6 years ago. One of the big things that we did was we actually installed 4 great big huge signs at all of the public boat launches to advise people of the direction that they should travel on the lake and the ordinances pertaining to water safety. Okay, all of these are posted at the 4 public launches. We also developed these signs to put on all of our own docks that indicate that we're paying attention to the people that are on. It says Water Watch, and please notice that we are paying attention. 2, the way that you are driving on the water, and we're concerned about water safety. The horrendous accident that we had here this past summer with the pontoon boat, that happened late at night, and the man was just traveling down the middle of the lake extremely fast and hit a pontoon boat. Now, this is the kind of thing that we're trying to prevent, and this is what Deputy Dugan was asking for our input on. He needs funding in order to continue to have deputies. Out of 10 deputies, he only was given 8 to work with, and there are several bodies of water. We know that, and not just Mason. We can't just be the only lake requesting.
Out of 10 deputies, how is that?
Out of 10 deputies, he only actually had 8 that he could utilize to different bodies of water.
That are trained in water, operating on the water.
Operating on the water this summer.
Go ahead.
Out of 10, I don't understand.
Yeah, we don't understand.
Who are the 10?
Okay,
Work with them.
Why are 2 people not able to do it?
we don't know. They weren't. He wasn't given a full crew. That's what we're telling you.
Oh, he
So-
requested 10
and he
8.
got correct. I didn't do a good job explaining
It
that.
makes sense now, I just didn't.
Okay. So that's one issue is he needs equipment and he needs manpower, and we understand that, and that's one of our pleas to come here. And then another one is the fact that the current ordinances that are he's already met with someone about them, and they do need revision. Some of them are contradictory, and we know that. And so his knowledge of the water, etc., and experiencing working with the deputies, etc., they want to establish, better concrete rules that everybody understands. And one suggestion I have, and it's just a suggestion, at all these public launches that we have, I know we do have a park host at a couple of them, maybe requiring people to show evidence of a voter's registration card, which means that they've had to take that test. They've had to be informed about what's going to happen if you have a violation, and just like they do in the public parks, the state parks. You know, maybe by holding people accountable a little bit better, we'll be able to protect the residents and the homeowners. All of us want safety. That's what we want. And so I just thought that might be a real good idea.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any comments, commissioners?
I noted that you had a, you're CC'd on there, Mr. and Mrs. Reese had sent us some suggestions. One of them was to add a fee to launch a boat on the ramp. Was there, I'm assuming for the purpose of paying for enforcement, or?
Well, perhaps, I'm not really sure where Mr. Reese was coming from with that, but perhaps the same kind of thinking that I'm coming up with as far as, you know, making them be accountable when they do go and launch a boat there at the public launch, so that they recognize, you know, you're operating a vessel on water and you need to be following rules. I mean, some of the people don't even know that you have to travel counterclockwise on the water. And so those are very serious issues, and we were very fortunate that with this pontoon collision that somebody wasn't killed. So that's what we're trying to prevent. Mason's a beautiful lake. We have wonderful residents. We have a very concerned community, and we just need support from, you know, the deputies and law enforcement.
Now, something I would like to ask is anybody else who would like to have further conversations with this, we're definitely open. Our cell phones are out there publicly, and if you want, we'll give them to you actually right now if anybody wants it. 360-490-7389 is mine.
360-463-2590, and I have cards.
And you can call the main office here, and they will connect you to our office. Mine is connected right to my cell phone.
Could we have Tim Sheldon's cell number?
Commissioner Sheldon, would you like to give your cell number, or would you like them to call through the office?
Yes, anytime you want to call me, 260-490-0351.
490-0351.
51.
Yes.
Or you can call the commission and my extension, if I'm not in the office, it'll patch through to the cell phone.
Thank you.
So this is for those out in the public as well. So feel free to call us. With that being said, we are way past our allotted time. So we will also be available after this meeting if you would like to talk to us further about any of these issues. With that being said, I will go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented tonight for the commission.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the August 31st briefing minutes, August 18th and September 15th regular meeting minutes, and the September 9th special meeting minutes.
I will second that. It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the minutes, August 31st briefing minutes, August 18th and September 15th regular meeting minutes, and the September 9th special meeting minutes.
So the phone just died.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Next up is our approval of our action agenda. All items listed under the action agenda will be enacted by one vote, unless, of course, a commissioner or the public would like to take something taken off for a separate vote. At that time, we will discuss that issue separately, and you'll be given an opportunity to ask questions or testify. After we go through each of the items, we'll read them to you in the public. Afterwards, you'll be given an opportunity to ask a question that may help you to decide whether to take it off. But if you would like to testify, we ask that you go ahead and ask for it to be removed, and we'll give you an opportunity to come up and speak, however you like on the issue. With that being said, since it's just the two of us, I will read 8.1 through 8.4. Commissioner Jeffries, if you will read 8.5 through 8.8. Item number 8.1, approval of the resolution reclassifying the Superior Court Administrator position to salary range 35 effective September 1st, 2015. Item number 8.2, approval to set a public hearing on October 13th, 2015 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the sale of surplus property parcel number 22055-55-00009, also known as 91 Wilchard Boulevard, Shelton, Washington, to Mr. Paul Sharp for the amount of $28,650. Item number 8.3, approval of the amendment number 4 to the 2015 through 2017 consolidated contract C17118, adding statements of work to emergency preparedness and response, OSS LMP implementation and recreational shellfish activities, and amending statements of work to maternal and child health block grant and NEP pollution ID and correction rounds 1 and 2. Item number 8.4, approval of the amendment number 1 to the coordinated prevention grant G1400120 between Mason County and the Washington State Department of Ecology. The amendment will provide $8,247 in additional funding for the solid waste program. The 25% match requirement will be available from tipping fees.
Item 8.5, approval to set 2 public hearings for Tuesday, October 20th, 2015 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the 2016 annual road construction program and 2016 through 2012 6-year transportation improvement program. Item 8.6, approval of the resolution to set a hearing with the hearing examiner on October 28th, 2015 at 1 p.m. for the hearing on the matter of the vacation of a portion of Schaefer Park Road, vacation file 392. 8.7, approval of the resolution to set a hearing with the hearings examiner on October 28, 2015 at 1 p.m. to consider public comment on the petition for vacation of a portion of East Alder Street, East 3rd Street, and the alley of the Hood Canal Land and Improvement Company's plan of Union City. Finally, 8.8, approval of the Veterans Assistance Fund applications for food for a total amount of $150. Utilities, total amount of $771.27, and housing, $155, for a total of $1,076.27, as recommended by the Veterans Service Office.
Thank you, Commissioner. And first of all, I want to tell you, I apologize if I'm yelling, but some people do have a hard time hearing. So it's not that I'm trying to be aggressive. I just want to make sure everybody out there does get a chance to hear what we're saying. With that being read into the record, those are the items that are before us on our action agenda that will be voted upon with one vote. This is your opportunity to ask a question about any of the items that was just read to you that may help you to decide whether or not to take it off for a separate vote. But again, if you'd like to testify on any of the issues, we ask that you please wait, have it taken off, and then we will deal with it at that time.
8.1. And my question is, January 12th, I had a briefing with the commissioners, and I asked to reclassify both my chief deputy and my chief appraiser.
Excuse me,
Yes?
are you asking a question, or?
Yeah, there's a
Because
question there.
say if you're gonna testify, we'll give you the opportunity,
Well, I want the
Madam
question.
Assessor.
I want the question out because there is a question there.
Go ahead, please.
Just creating the mood here. And I was told that there had been several reclassification requests for the non-represented manager group. Commissioner Jeffries wanted to make sure that the county was internally aligned. And so HR said they would start the reviewing of the reclassification request. They said it'd be about 30 to 60 days. I haven't been notified. 2 weeks ago,
Madam Assessor, I'm going to stop you, I'm sorry. But you know, this process is for a question, help you decide whether to take it off for a separate vote. If you would rather have it taken off for a separate vote, then please do so. You'll be given your opportunity to testify at that time.
Well, my question is, okay, go ahead and do that.
You'd like it taken off for a separate vote?
Yes.
Okay. Item 8.1 will be removed for a separate vote. Is there any questions that may help you to decide whether to have something taken off for a separate vote? Is that a question in regards to having taken off for a separate vote, Commissioner, or is it in regards to that issue?
Well, it is the fact that the Superior Court is asking you to put this in place. We would like to defer it, table it for a week because we don't have all of the commissioners. And
Okay.
I don't want to keep people here if it could be tabled for a week.
So, but right now, it's already taken off for a separate vote, so then you'll be given an opportunity to say that at the
Okay.
next point. With that being said, is there anybody that has any questions in regards to any of the items that would help you to decide whether to take it off for a separate vote? Hearing none, is there any item that has been read to you tonight that you would like taken off for a separate vote, so you would have an opportunity to testify or ask further questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
So we've confirmed that 8.1.
8.1 has been removed, so.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve items 8.2 through 8.8 on today's action agenda.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the action agenda items 8.2 through 8.8. 8.1 is being taken off for a separate vote. With that being said, is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries, and it passes. Item number 8.2, or 8.1, approval of the resolution reclassifying the Superior Court administrator position to a salary range 35 effective September 1st, 2015. Where is Bill here? Would you mind giving us a brief, oh, there he is. Bill, would you give us a brief on what this is, please, for the public?
On 8.1, Commissioner?
Yes, please.
Yes. Good evening, I'm Bill Kenny, Support Services Director, and one of the departments that is in Support Services is Human Resources. Commissioners, this issue came by petition to the Superior Court for a reclassification or realignment in regard to their court administrator. There was a couple of different items advanced as a justification, but the biggest one was the alignment of that particular position with an equivalent position in the district court, which was the district court administrator. So the argument of the Superior Court was the clear equity issue of the misalignment of the two positions over time. Several years ago, a previous commission had given a range increase to the district court administrator. And Superior Court on several occasions advanced to the county commissioners that created an inequity, both internally and externally. Human Resources did look at the functioning of the Superior Court administrator, the job descriptions. We did look at both internal issues as well as look at comparable counties. And when I'm saying comparable counties, I'm talking about comparable counties the size of Mason County, not the Thurston counties or the Kitsapps, but ones our size is what we call comparable counties. And it was true, it was found that the Superior Court administrator and the district court administrator most often are paid comparably in those counties. So there was that equity issue. I have advised the commission multiple times that Mason County as a whole is significantly behind the comparable counties on many of their employees. I believe the commission took the position that if there's additional reclassifications, they'd like to have them as part of their budget workshops with each of the departments, as well as direct Human Resources to do a reclassification policy revision. And so that's where we are today. In terms of looking at salary survey, there is a core issue, which is we are significantly behind other counties for employees on the average, and that would include many of the employees. So the commission in setting the budget for 2016 was going to look at both the individual requests as well as what to do about compensation in general. And my understanding is that's what was coming up in budget workshops.
Thank you. Before you leave, is there anybody in the audience who has a question for staff in regards to what he just said? And then, Commissioner, do you have any questions for?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This will be your opportunity in the public. If you'd like to have a comment, now would be your opportunity. Raise your hand, be recognized, and you'll be given your opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and get it. Please.
I'm Melody Peterson, Mason County Assessor. Sorry I took so long. I did have a question at the end of this. So I won't bother to let everyone hear my story again. But I want to just say a couple of things that I was thinking about. That my chief deputy left 2 weeks ago, better paying job in another county. And this is a person that I relied on and did a critical job in my office. And now I have to start from scratch and try to create the levies that create the taxes that give the money to the county. So I'm just saying, and I advertise for a chief appraiser. I get 4 applications because of the pay that we're paid in this county. So my question was, if you honor the request that is in the resolution, would you also honor my quest to have my chief appraiser and chief deputy realigned? Because as I was looking through, I think I was only asking for 3 ranges, and I think they should be more than that at this point when I look at the jobs that are paid higher than them, because there is a lot of pressure and a lot of stress to create the values and create the levies and all the other work that we do in our office that most people don't even know that we do. So I just wanted to be heard, and I wanted to stand up for my non-unions because nobody else will. I'm the only person that will stand up for them.
Thank you, Madam Assessor. Do you have any questions, Commissioner?
I don't.
Thank you. Your Honor?
Thank you. My name is Tony Sheldon, Superior Court Judge, and I would ask that this item 8.1, which is on at the Superior Court's request, be tabled for a week so that we have the benefit of a full complement of commissioners. We did have Commissioner Sheldon on the phone, but that ended before we got to this stage, and so I would ask that it be tabled and we take it up next week or at a convenient time in 2 weeks, whichever is better for the commission.
Any questions, Commissioner?
I don't.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to testify at this time? Tom Davis.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tom Davis, 170 West Bushy Road, and good evening. I have a particular reason for commenting on this issue, and it ties in with my interest in therapeutic courts. I'm not going to go into that, but I want you to know that that is the reason I'm standing here. There's definitely an inequality issue of pay, but let me be clear on a couple of particulars of this request. The Superior Court, for their administrators, asking for a jump of 8 levels up from 27 to 35. That's considerable. And the amount in question is somewhere around, I think it's $35,528. I'm sorry, $13,528. Yeah, it's still a lot. Not quite as much, I agree. But that's a significant amount to go from one pay level to the next. It's not only 8 grades up, it's also 3 steps in. So I did a little research on when this issue came up back in 2011. It was November 15th when the district court came around and they wanted their administrator going from grade 27 to 35. And at the time, Judge Meadows had said that the employee has been performing some of the duties of the district court probation administrator for the last 5 years. And that was the crux, that was the reason that she gave to support why she was asking for such a substantial pay raise. Now, at that time, again, back in November 2011, Commissioner Sheldon had pulled this off for a separate vote, and he said, and I quote from the minutes, Mr. Sheldon felt that many of the county's employees were working out of class, especially during the recession, and he would like to take a more systematic approach to the issue. And as a result of that, he voted nay. He voted not to. As a matter of fact, you two commissioners weren't here at the time. It was two other commissioners, but Mr. Sheldon was here, and he said, and so he voted, he was the only nay vote. I don't know what his vote, and I don't presume to know what his vote would be today, but historically, I think that's significant. I think that the judge's request is a good one. I would come back next week to testify again with a little bit more information. But I think in context, what you have is a request that is cherry picking again, and you know that has been a kind of an issue with who gets the raises and who doesn't. And every time this issue has come up, and I've been standing here, as you know, for many years, every time this issue comes up, there's always an exception. And the exception is the exception for this particular person, for this particular issue, under these particular circumstances, and it makes sense, but only now. And then when the broader range of the question is addressed, well, what about the pay inequality for the people who are doing the job? Just suck it up, basically, we hear. We'll get to you when times are better, and you'll be included in across the board pay raise. And that's been what I've seen year after year after year. It's demoralizing, I would think. I don't work for the county, and I certainly don't get paid. But I could see what that would do to your level of enthusiasm, your level of commitment. It's just downright unfair. It's not that this particular person doesn't deserve it. It's that a particular person doesn't deserve it all by his or herself. So if you're going to have a broad range issue and you're going to approach it fairly and put equality in these pay raises, by all means, you'll get that support. But if you're going to pick another person out of the group for special attention, then it's kind of testament that nothing really has changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Tom. Is there anybody else who would like to testify on this issue?
And if you're not going to set it over, I do have my testimony to give. My only request was to set it over.
You know, I'm not sure what's going to happen without a motion on that, but this is your opportunity to testify, so I would suggest that you testify now, and, you know, normally we don't do it twice, but please, go ahead. And because there's no motion on any of it yet.
Okay. Tony Sheldon, Superior Court. And I want to thank the commissioners for allowing us to have this on the agenda tonight. And I would introduce Judge Goodell, who is here as well, Superior Court Judge. Judge Finley sends her regrets because she had a family issue that she needed to take care of. Our request has been to realign the Superior Court Administrator, range 27 on the county's salary alignment table, to range 35, where the commissioners have placed the District Court Administrator. We have a proposed resolution that I hope is in your packets, and the language is that to accurately reflect job responsibilities and competencies necessary for the Superior Court Administrator position, and to bring parity with the District Court Administrator position. A classification is requested, and the resolution does make that change. The Board of County Commissioners for Mason County adopted a salary alignment table. And the premise is, in an alignment table, that like jobs are paid like salaries. And these two positions are more than just similar. They have duties that are totally alike, hence their name, Court Administrator. One is for the Superior Court, which is a court of general jurisdiction, and the other is for the District Court, which is a court of limited jurisdiction. And although they do a few things based upon their differences in the court system that are different, the court administrator for each of these courts essentially does the same job. Historically, the salary for the two court administrators has been very, very close. I'm going back to Resolution 41-93, and when you hear that 93, it means that was the year it was enacted. At that time, and that is April 27, 1993, both of these positions were at range 11. Subsequent to that, in Resolution 5794, which was adopted June 21st, 1994, the Superior Court Administrator went up one range to 12, and the District Court Administrator stayed back at 11. That was followed by the resolution adopted on July 20th, 1999, which is 80-99, in which the District Court Administrator went up to 12, so that they were both at that time at range 12. The next change occurred in December of 2001 with the Resolution 146-01, and at that time the Superior Court Administrator was bumped up one level to 13, with the District Court Administrator staying at 12. The next change occurred just the next year, December of 2002, with Resolution 163-02, in which the District Court Administrator came up to level 13, where the Superior Court Administrator was. And the next change was in 2004, November, with Resolution 104-04. And at that time was a big change, because the salary alignment table went from 22 ranges to 45 ranges. And so there was a expansion of the table itself. And at that time, effective July 1st, 2004, the Superior Court Administrator, range 13, as well as the District Court Administrator, range 13, were both moved to range 26. And in that same resolution, to be effective a year later, the Superior Court and the District Court Administrator moved from range 26, where they were together, to range 27, where they were together. And again, that's in 2004. The next change took place in November of 2011, and it is Resolution 79-11. And at that time, the District Court Administrator, who had been at range 27 with the Superior Court Administrator, was bumped up to range 35. And so you can see that historically these two positions have been kept and have tracked each other until the change in 2011. We have made, the Superior Court has been talking about asking for a realignment of this table for quite some time. And we've been told that we shouldn't be doing this piecemeal. We're going to get this whole thing done in a package. And most recently, that occurred when our assessor, Melanie Peterson, and County Clerk Ginger Brooks came before the Commission on January 12, 2015 with their request to reclassify their chief deputy positions. And in the minutes from that meeting on January 12, 2015, it was again indicated that we need to do this all as a group. And when asked for a timeline to review the positions, the HR director at that time responded that the review of the job descriptions and salary ranges could be done in the next 30 to 60 days. Commissioner Netherland asked Bill Kinney to start the review of the reclassification requests, and hopefully he will have that completed in 30 days. We waited the 30 days, we waited another 60 days, we waited 6 months, but it has not been completed. And this is something that has been ongoing for upwards of 8 or 9 years, because the same thing was discussed with TJ Martin when he was the HR director, that the commissioners wanted to redo all of these salary alignments. It was discussed with Greg Herring, his successor. This same issue was discussed by Karen Jackson, and it now is being discussed by Mr. Kinney. Our concern is the inequity between the salary range amount that a very similar position is earning. This isn't about a position that has some of the capabilities and some of the requirements of another position in the county. It is essentially the same position. And it is very inequitable with regard to internally, and externally it is inequitable as well. We have become a 3-judge county rather than a 2-judge county, so obviously there's more work for our administrator to do. And as we line up with the other 3-judge counties, we are the second lowest. The Grant Superior Court Administrator is the lowest, and then Mason County, followed by up the scale Lewis County, Clallam County, Grays Harbor County, and Chelan County. And the district court for Mason County falls right at number 3. And so it is significantly out of range, even externally, for our court administrator, to remain at her current level. So I would urge you, if you are not going to set this over for a week, so that the 3rd commissioner can participate as well, that you grant our request.
Thank you. Your Honor, do you have any questions?
You know, I do for Mr. Kenny, though.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Kenny, would you please join us?
2 questions. Judge Sheldon made a statement that said that the purpose of the salary range alignment was so that like jobs got like pay, and I don't think I agree with that statement, and I wanted to hear if what your thoughts are, the purpose of having, for instance, range 32. I don't know that a chief finance manager has the same type of job as a construction services supervisor, and so I just wanted to hear your response to that statement.
Well, there's really two parts to that, Commissioner. Thank you for the question. The one part, the core of the question is, when is a reclassification warranted? And it is, admittedly, Mason County does not have a consistent policy in that regard. I've identified that to the Commission. Most often a reclassification occurs when a position takes on significant responsibilities of a higher level, and that justifies it. It is not just simply the addition of new programs. For example, a simple thing that would demonstrate that is with coming on the recession, Mason County went from 430 positions, FTEs, to 330 without changing service levels. So everybody took on more work. That would seemingly have justified a reclassification for everyone if it was just about volume of work. It is true that like positions are most often in the salary system paid the same when they have similar responsibilities, minimum qualifications, scope of education training, and financial responsibilities, as well as other factors like supervision and that type of thing. And they should be looked at in that way. The problem at Mason County, and where I would disagree with some of the previous testimony, is in April of last year, we did a salary survey, and in this room, I testified and gave a briefing to the board that Mason County is significantly out of line with comparable jurisdiction, which is affecting our ability to compete, and ultimately will turn into recruit and retain problems. We did that salary survey. I was able to identify with specificity which positions were most out of line, but more important, that the average Mason County position was significantly below comparables. We revisited that again this year. Now, this commission has been very sensitive at looking at some of the compensation issues,
more often than not, it's been a budget issue. For example, we did, for both the non-represented and the represented, raise medical premium contributions and put COLAs in place. With the commission, and in this year's budget instructions, put in the directions was to plan on some across-the-board increase. And with that increase, the hope was, and just as some of the previous testimony spoke to, the hope was to raise the average Mason County compensation so that we could, again, continue to be competitive. We do have to look at reclassification as well, but the recommendation of HR is now and has been for many months, if not years, that we need to do across-the-board increases in order to be competitive and keep good people.
Any other questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Mr. Kenny.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to testify at this time? Hearing none, Madam Gosher, apparently we have at least 3 different options. One is to table it with or without a date. Another is to send it back for a rebriefing and redecision on whether or not to bring it forward, or another is to either make a motion or no motion of which to vote on.
I am not in favor of requesting to have this tabled. There is no guarantee that a third commissioner will be here any week. And
Why is that?
we have a quorum here, and so we have an appropriate number of people that we need, and so I don't think that is a good option. I think that we've briefed this many times, and I'm not willing to go back and rebrief it. I will not be making a motion to approve this for probably most of the reasons that you've already heard, but let me just share why. It is clear that we are lacking any kind of reclassification policy that is consistent, and the way we reclassed over the years has been uneven. And from observation taking on this job, it seems like the one with the loudest voice is the one that got what they wanted. And we all know that that's not fair. We tend to compare positions across agencies and jobs and then say, well, they got a reclass, how come I didn't? But we need this policy to talk about when a reclass is required, because that is not an appropriate way to do that, in my opinion. We are 8 to 10% lower in pay across the county than our comparable counties. This is a huge amount to make up. I myself have committed to an across-the-board increase to try to slow down this break. But the truth is, we need to find out how to pay for it. We need to find out how to pay for it. And I'll be darned if the citizens of Mason County are going to say, yeah, we'll increase our taxes so that we can pay the county employees more. I don't know. We may have to go out and ask you folks that. It's a tough call, and I don't know how else to dress that one up. We have talked about how we could do that. One of the most interesting anomalies of this county is we are one of the few counties in the state that has such a large difference between our road levy and our general fund levy. Over the years, that road levy was able to increase, and then by the vote of the people, there was a cap put on the amount of tax that could be collected to 1%. And there wasn't an opportunity to even that out. I couldn't tell you why previous commissions let that grow the way it did. But I think the best way that we can take care of this is to shift some of that levy authority over to our general fund from the road. Now that means that your roads are not going to get the kind of maintenance that they've been getting. It's one of those terrible decisions you have to make. And we can only do that once in a while, for emergencies, but the truth is we need to go out and ask you, would you be willing to do this on a permanent basis? And I just want to let you know that question may come to you if we get at least 2 commissioners. But you see, we have a recruit and retain issue of quality employees. The best and the brightest get to go to a county either north or south of us that has a tax base a heck of a lot larger, and they can pay a lot more. We had an employee go from Mason County to Pierce County, made $20,000 more a year and had less responsibilities. I don't know how to fix this except for to ask somehow to be able to do this. Pay this, to be able to lift the boats as much as we can across the board and quit the cherry picking and then get serious about a reclassification. I asked Mr. Kenny, this is obviously a huge issue for the morale. I agree with you, Mr. Davis, for the morale of the employees. I just am so thankful for the public service they get because it's not for a lot of money. But I also know that in comparison to the average wage earner in Mason County, it's a pretty darn good wage too. But I'm not the one that gets to decide that for each and every person. They decide that for themselves.
So there will be no motion?
There will be no motion.
Okay. I want to clarify, as was told to you, when it comes to our compensation for some of our employees, we've had a rough couple of years when we first came in. We had 2.2 million that we were short, had to figure a way to find. Then we found out it was paid as independent contractors to all of our employees. So we had to come up with all that tax and stuff because you can't do that either. We had another 3 million we had to figure a way to handle when it came to ER&R. And all through that process, we were also in negotiations in the very beginning with the unions, of which I'm both happy and sad to say that we negotiated exceptionally well. Problem is, we negotiated exceptionally well, and now we may have negotiated where we've made it harder on them. It actually created a shortage when it came to our corrections officers. Just to give you an example, we're just trying to hire fresh off the street even. So there are different consequences when we think we come into this job that we're going to negotiate the hardest we can for our citizens, and you find out that sometimes that's not as beneficial. As for this issue, if there is no motion, there's no motion to vote on, there's no movement or a second, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda. And before I do, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and I want you to know that you don't have to sit here for all this. I know you're being kind. This is a great
program you want to hear about.
I was watching people look at the door, and I know you're being very kind, but you don't have to. I'm gonna wait for a minute before I start this hearing. If you'd like to get up and leave, you're more than welcome to. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. See you later, John. You bet.
And just so you know, sir, what she was saying about that is, this commission has no authority to dictate or direct when another commissioner is to arrive, or to be here or not. There is nobody here that does.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know if he has my card or not about this comp scheme,
Okay, about the which scheme?
the comprehensive scheme.
Guys call it a scheme.
Yeah, again. So,
And if you wanted to, what I would suggest too is just to send a letter to our community development.
which department?
Community development, Barbara Atkins, with requests that it be included in the comprehensive plan. And then that will make sure it gets on the agenda. You don't have to come to a planning commission meeting.
Good, okay.
And then
And then. Commissioner, go ahead.
And then, please. I really wanted everybody to hear about this program.
I was watching Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to our Tuesday, September 22nd regular meeting. We are moving now into item number 9, which is our public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, we worked on that very hard. CDBG for Enterprise for Equity Program, presented by Justin Smith and Lisa Smith. Was that really your names?
No relation.
So who would like to lead off?
Well, we're both going to go at the same time, but I'll go ahead and start it off.
Well, come on up.
All right.
This is the opportunity to start this process and tell everybody that's left.
Don't forget, you're on TV.
Yes. Well, thank you. Justin Smith with WSU Extension. I'm glad to be here and to be able to present a portion of this Community Development Block Grant proposal that we put together. And I want to thank Commissioner Jeffries and the EDC for the support that they have provided in the development of this proposal. It's been an exciting, and I think it's an exciting opportunity for the county and the residents. Just to give a brief overview, the purpose of the program is to provide initial funding to run a micro-enterprise training and micro-loan program in the county for businesses of 5 and under, or new businesses, or new people looking to start new businesses in the community as well. And Lisa Smith of Enterprise for Equity is going to be sharing a little bit more about the program, its intent, and kind of like the parameters in terms of like how people are going to get involved and be able to participate in this. And so, but for WSU's perspective and what we're going to be providing is for this program is we'll be supporting Enterprise for Equity in a few key ways. WSU will be assisting their program evaluation, so in the program that they'll be providing. We'll be providing technical assistance and specific training for program participants that will be moving through this program, and we'll be also providing community outreach. Now, we're going to be working with looking to identify a local entity to also support that community outreach, and as well as provide technical assistance programming to help jumpstart this through a series of orientations and public meetings that will then be able to start drawing people into the Enterprise for Equity program. And we will also be providing administrative support to the county in terms of being able to provide timely payments that are distributed and to meet reporting requirements that have been defined, laid out by the Department of Commerce. I think if there are any questions, I think probably we might be able to have Lisa go and kind of define what the program is. And if there are any questions that you have for me specifically, I can come back up and we can just do a tag team here.
Thank you. Thanks. You want to ask a question right now, or?
No.
Okay, please, come on up.
Well, good evening. I sure wish there were more people here. I'm just kidding. So my name is Lisa Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Enterprise for Equity. It's a nonprofit. It's been around for about 15 years. We are physically located in Olympia, but we serve a very broad region. Absolutely Mason County, and we have a bunch of entrepreneurs out here already. But our real focus is to help businesses that are currently in existence with under 5 employee companies who may never have really turned a profit figure out what they need to do in order to get their systems together to move profitability. We also help people who have never been in business consider self-employment and actually learn all the details of writing a business plan and get started into business. We know also that it's really hard to start without some kind of seed money. So in 2009, we launched a microloan fund to really have those small microloans to buy a lathe or to get supplies or inventory or machinery in a business that they want to start. So really it's about economic development. What we're proposing here is to really build capacity in small rural companies to grow their businesses to the next level. And right now, we serve people with low incomes, and this grant is also dedicated to serving people with low to moderate income. And our focus is really going to be in Belfair and Shelton, but our outreach is going to be throughout the county. And we see not just us doing that outreach or the Economic Development Council, but really partnering with all of the churches and nonprofits and social service agencies to reach the people who may not know that this service exists and may benefit greatly from it. I'd like to just take a minute and say we've been around for a long time. We have about 160 businesses up and running and now more. We just had a graduation on Sunday out at our farm. We actually are on the front page of the Olympian today too, which is very exciting. But what we know is that given a chance, given some education, hand-holding, a little bit of toughness and firmness, these entrepreneurs can actually figure out what to do to grow their company. We work with everybody: piano tuning, dog training, web design, childcare, whatever that company makes sense is who we'll work with. Our only requirement is that the person has to have a lot of experience in the business they want to start. And have to meet the income criteria. So we've been doing this for a long time. Our systems are strong. Our training team is strong. We have the capacity to do this. The other part I'll say is that we have, over the last 2 years, focused on a lot of our work on these young adults who are 18 to 26. There are many places around the country they're facing a 24% unemployment rate. So we will outreach to them, and absolutely we work a lot with veterans. But really, it's these low-income families that we want to concentrate on. Enterprise for Equity has a specialty emphasis in agriculture and forestry, so we have expertise there, and we want to work with our partners who also have expertise locally. And I guess I also wanted to share a little bit about the partnerships that we have. We currently work very closely with our workforce board and our local workforce office. People often have a job, or they have a hard time keeping a job because they actually should be running a business. So we contract with the workforce program or workforce board to actually help people who may not be ready for a good job but may be better starting their business. So we work with the workforce office, we work with the Department of Veterans Affairs, we work with the Division of Oak Rehab. So people with disabilities often can't go to a job and do a job 8 hours a day, but they are perfect for self-employment. So we have a lot of connections and expertise there. Overall, really, this is about creating revenue for the county. If a business is strong, they actually hire people. If people get employed, they actually pay taxes. And so what we want to do is strengthen the networks that are already here. I mean, Lynn Longan in the EDC has done a tremendous amount of work with the Sparking Solutions survey and reaching out and seeing where are those avenues of strength and how can we support them. So we want to build, strengthen and build those networks so businesses are not doing it all alone. They have resources, they have technical assistance, training, and loans. I think that's mainly it.
That's okay. Any questions for the presentation? Yes.
Do you have a business consultant on staff?
Oh, we have several. We have a training team of 11 trainers who are they're on contract because they're all self-employed.
Okay.
But they also are very good at working with adult learners in a training environment. So it's not everybody who can do that. So really, it's a facilitating training. Yeah.
Other questions?
So income eligibility, can you tell me what that level is?
Yeah, so I don't have all of those specific details, but it's 85% of federal poverty.
80% of the moderate
income
or below. So like a family of 4, I think, is like 47 or 48,000 for this county. And the U.S. Census Bureau is the one that dictates what that is for your county.
And so just as a point of reference, Enterprise for Equity has worked with the City of Olympia and we've run several years of CDBG fundings. We've qualified, we've met all their standards, all their reporting requirements, and we're currently working with Tumwater on a CDBG. What's interesting to us about Mason County is that there's so much potential here. I mean, you have recreation, you have forestry, you have some manufacturing, You have a lot of potential, and we see actually people with low incomes as opportunity. They have a lot of genius in them, and how can we create that environment where they can, express that genius in a business? And not everybody. We're talking about 5 to 7%. But for those 5 to 7%, we're very good.
Are there any services through this program that would be available to people that don't meet the income eligibility?
Well, I'll just say, I'll take a stab at that. I'll say, not on this grant, but we have experts in the county who work with companies and people who make more money. And that's, the EDC, and we have the SBDC folks who come over, and we have other partners. The benefit is that we're going to be all connected. There's been an incredible amount of collaboration to get to this point. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
As well as WSU. They'll have no income issue.
Any further questions?
No, not for me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So we will close that aspect. Is there any community testimony at this point? Yes.
Lynn Longan, Director of the Economic Development Council for Mason County. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. I just wanted to go on the record for saying that these funds through CDBG are coming from the Economic Opportunity Grant, which is a special pot of money that is a one-time pot of money that the Department of Commerce has taken a previously rural loan fund and put into what they call an Economic Opportunity Fund. So this is a special pot of money. And I also wanted to go on record for saying that we will be coming back hopefully in the spring after we've conducted our feasibility study on a business resource center. And these are the funds that we're going to ask that the county apply for moving forward on a business resource center. So from the same funds. So, it could be general purpose grants because it actually falls into that too. The Department of Commerce advised me. But if there's anything left in the economic opportunity grants, that will be a request. And I was advised by Commerce to make sure we get it on record that we are looking at that.
Great.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify at this time? Hearing none, I will close public testimony and move into commissioner deliberations. Do you have any deliberating to do?
No, just a thank you to everybody that has worked on this, and this is really, really exciting. I think I agree. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and I'm very excited about it. I'm really excited that we're working with Enterprise for Equity, and this is right out of the chute. Your community development work, and always pleasure to have EDC involved in any of our work. So,
again, you already know how I feel about this. Most of the time it's silent because I've seen this before. This is nothing new. If anything, it's the little miniature box of cereal is what we did in Allen, and it was very successful, created a lot of jobs. Now we've got the mega family box of cereal coming up, and I'm really looking forward to really feeding a lot of businesses with this and getting a lot of them to go out and hire out. Like I said, I was amazed the little bit that we invested in Allen and the North Mason region brought so many jobs out of it. If they hadn't gone to fund the state entity, I don't know, we would have been doing it forever. So I look forward to seeing what you can pull off. I hope you're as good as I think you're going to be.
Me too.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve submitting an application to the Washington State Department of Commerce, sign the resolution with certifications of compliance and any other applicable paperwork for a $250,000 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for a local enterprise assistance program, the Big Box of Cereal.
And I will second that motion. And just for the public, so they know, the reason why we keep saying CDBG is because we couldn't do it before very well. It was an embarrassment, so we all taught ourselves how to do this. We invested a lot of time on your behalf. No, just kidding. It has been moved and seconded. I have seconded, I hope. It has been moved and seconded for the approval to submit an application to the Washington State Department of Commerce and sign the resolution with certifications of compliance and any other applicable paperwork for a $250,000 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for a local micro enterprise assistance program. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and this hearing is closed. With that being said, we will now move on
Good
to item.
luck. How long will they take to decide?
She said she should be able to do it within like 30 days of the application.
And then it takes time to do the contracts and.
Well, contract longer, but
Okay.
30 days for a
So we
decision.
could be up and running by January maybe, which would be very fun.
Very exciting.
So we will now move on to other business, department heads, or elected officials. Are there any department heads or elected officials?
About to say, I'm not sure when to leave.
We got one. Would you like to speak?
Yes. Justin Smith with WSU Extension. Thank you for having an opportunity to share ongoing.
Tell the commissioner a little bit about.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we are working on a new proposal for an I-6 innovation grant to the EDA to establish a proof of concept center in Mason, a proof of concept as a seaweed production facility. We are putting it together. It needs to be out and in their hands by October 2nd so that it can be certified and in the office by October 5th is the deadline.
Fabulous.
So we're.
Proof of concept, it's kind of like a feasibility.
It is a little bit like, actually more like an incubator.
Oh,
Yeah. We may be asked to help with land or look for
Yes.
some of the stuff that we may have available. I figure we'll bring Steve Bloomfield into this
There we go.
conversation.
I've messaged.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump
No,
on you.
no.
I'm excited about it too.
So I've sent out messages to Steve Bloomfield, to Bill Dewey, to Squaxin Island. We've been in conversations with the EDC as well, and different groups in the extension, Impact Washington. So we've been trying to get our feelers out to a lot of different entities and partners to be able to really kind of pull the resources in to be able to develop this. We have Barbara Rasco, who is the director of the Food Sciences Department at WSU and at University of Idaho, who is very interested in working on this project and is going to be a co-PI to help run this, as well as Dr. Shulin Chen, who runs the Biosystems Engineering Lab at Washington State University. And all their work is looking at algae, seaweed as a form of biofuel. So there's a lot of different applications and opportunities that I think can help feed off of this. But really what we need to really start doing is learning how we can cultivate and grow seaweed and the industry as an opportunity to start building out these other kind of food processing, food options, as well as chemical manufacturing and biofuels as maybe something down the line. Another thing that we're looking at is what is the application or the possibility for producers to be able to then grow and cultivate and to sell carbon credits to other businesses who want to be able to get into those markets as a part of their corporate responsibility, corporate social responsibility. More and more businesses are looking for entities, looking for businesses that they can purchase those carbon credits as offsets. And so this may be a viable way for them to enter in as one more economic activity that they can engage in, as well as being able to process for food. So that's what we're going to be doing.
thank you.
So we're very hopeful. We'll see. But I mean, the idea is out there, and we're going to keep pushing until it happens. So.
Sure.
I had a feeling you were gonna get that reaction, so we're doing well.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good reaction.
I just had a seaweed salad down in Grays Harbor, and Grays Harbor Ocean Shores last weekend. It was like, oh, this thing's amazing.
It's good stuff, and it's good for you.
Well,
I
and
want it.
bear in mind, for the public, we're talking, this is a possibility of jobs
Oh,
and
yeah.
more jobs, more money coming into the community in many different ways, and maybe a whole other avenue. We're already so strong in that aquaculture industry. This is just another farm product that can really go a long way. And I'm a firm believer already, we've talked about it before for the Hood Canal Coordinating Councils and the like, bringing in any of this type of water foliage, I think, is beneficial for our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm a big fan of eelgrass. We talked about it before. That's where this conversation went south and became that, and we've been excited ever since.
And you know what? It emphasizes something I've said for years. Clean water is economic development in Mason County.
Everywhere.
Well, the way we do it. Anything further?
That's it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other elected department heads or elected officials? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item number 11 in short form, Board reports and calendars.
I'll be so short. Following last week's meeting, I went to the League of Women Voters. We had a Mason Transit Authority meeting. I met with, had a criminal justice working team meeting, met with Commissioner Moore from the city, and then had I attended a presentation to the Community Economic Revitalization Board. The PUD number 3 submitted a planning grant application for a feasibility study on taking their downtown building and turning it into an incubator business accelerator. All this is just all going to come together, isn't it? And congratulations, PUD. They were awarded the planning grant. Attended the Reagan Legacy dinner that evening. Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization, where we passed our 6-year transportation plan, and I just have to share this. For the first time, the Department of Transportation is actually going to put into consideration land use planning and land use zoning around some of their projects, which is kind of the closest, getting closer to growth management consistency, which I used to lobby for hard, and we'll have a presentation about what that all means. We had briefings on Monday. Voter registration day is today, and I did some voter registration work up at the library. Met with Joe Alvarez from our regional support network regarding criminal justice treatment account. Had a Board of Health meeting. I will have a meeting with some principals at Green Diamond regarding some land that we want from them. And then, let's see, the Pack Mountain Workforce Development Council is having their board orientation, advisory board. I'm going to try to make as much of that as I can. Mason Matters meeting, Area Agency on Aging, and Mental Health Substance Abuse, and then I'll go this weekend and back for briefings.
Mason Transit Authority meeting where we were together on that one. I met with some folks on multifamily low-income housing in Mason County, North Mason, Keystone moving forward. I met with the investors and the like when it comes to the trails and connecting that from the trail from Belfair to Shelton.
I'm going to start talking about that too.
Yeah. North Mason Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors meeting. Seattle Inception, which is the cannabis organization, which is growing by leaps and bounds. They're up to 30 people in that building, and I don't even know. I know there's a big line of wage increases going there, and if you haven't seen anything like this, actually, I'd like to make arrangements to have you go. This is a business about business about business. It is not people going around smoking pot. This thing is tight. The way it works, you go from room to room, you scan in, you scan out. If a plant moves from room to room, it has to be scanned out and scanned in. If there's a length of time between it, red flags go up. After they're done packaging with everything, it has to be inspected by the state, so it has to go into this quarantine room, not because there's anything wrong with it, because you can't touch it. If the box gets moved on camera, all heck breaks loose. This is a serious business of which, when I talked to them when they were first starting out, their minimum was $15 an hour, and their highest paid was $80,000 a year. That's when they had like a dozen maybe, and now they're up to about 30 people, and I know that they're giving raises, and they called and asked, we'd like to talk about expanding and see what we can do with this building. So we got the planning and building department to go out there, and there was no way to expand, so to speak, because of the different rules and regulations, but our planning and building department sat down, looked over different ways, and think they found a way to help them to go on and expand. If they couldn't, they would have to do it elsewhere. That was rough. So, and they're looking to expand by at least another 30 employees.
Fabulous.
And these are all, and here was the best part about it. You've known me a long time, so you know I have good relationships with my friends and stuff out there. And the staff saw me go into this building, and I didn't know who was going to be there, because I hadn't been in there since there was not a single plant. And her comment was, "Are you going to hug and kiss everybody?" They were all from Belfair. Everybody they hired were locals.
Good.
I was amazed. They kept coming out, and they knew me, and old friends of mine forever. Thank you for hiring local and making our jobs go through here. It's funny because you hear people talk about our unemployment rate and stuff. Even with Simpson leaving, what was the last one? We were in the mid-sevens? Yeah. You do realize when we came into office, Commissioner, we were, was it 11.5 or 11.9? So,
Does that include the Simpson numbers?
I don't think the Simpson numbers have hit.
They said it did in the paper.
Yeah, as of May, it was 7.9. but still we're below 8. That's with all the numbers in, as of, yeah.
Well, this was just in the paper, what, 2 weeks ago?
Okay.
Or maybe it may not have been the
Has it gone down
It
now?
may not have been the Shelton paper, actually, because I get the stuff and anything that says Mason County. And they were talking about it just a few weeks ago, it came out, so it was the newest numbers.
Okay.
But we're doing good.
That's good.
So that was a wonderful thing, and I wanted to share that with everybody. And they bought other properties in Belfair, not for marijuana production or anything else like that. They're repurposing them and making them work. They bought that dollar store, they're redoing that whole thing up front. They bought the thing next to it's gonna be something to help a nonprofit. They think it's gonna be a secondhand store, but it's still more, it's been vacant forever. They bought this other one where they put a snowboard store in there and some others. Now they're looking to even expand on that. This is the kind of thing that we really appreciate and we really need, and it's trying to be open-minded. And again, I'll remind everybody, I don't smoke nothing, I don't do none of that stuff, and it had nothing to do with any of it. It's just the jobs, we needed it, and it's being beneficial now, at least in the North Mason area. Well, actually, we know it's down here too. Look at all the hundreds that we've gotten out of the port. You know, so when these families are going home, people make that comment about living wage jobs. You go and tell any family who goes home, brings Christmas presents home to their family at Christmas and put food on the table. It's not a living wage job. It's very appreciated and very thankful for anything that we get here. All of us are. Board of Health, our regular briefings. We had this. I had a scope watershed plan meeting that I attended. Local businesses and their issues with surviving the road destruction that has happened up there. And luckily for us, our relationship with the state has been phenomenal. They went on our behalf and fought them and forced them to repatch it all now.
Good.
So thank you very much to Washington State DOT and to Kevin Dayton for all his help. Next week, do I have Simpson or not? Do you know? No Simpson, so I don't have that one. Liza Healthy South Sound, I have another one I can't read, and I have Mount Moriah with our Widows Night, North Mason Chamber Lunch. I have a meeting with those same investors and for the trails and the salmon enhancement groups and engineers and the like, all to keep moving this forward. EDC nomination committee meeting, courthouse security meeting briefing. I have a Farm Bureau panel that I will be attending to listen to the innovations and things that are going on. There's another dinner later on that evening with the Farm Bureau. Have you been talked to about that? Will you be attending?
I will not be in town.
Okay, well, that's right, you're going to see your family now. And then there's going to be a local debate in North Mason to
Go ahead, that's the same day as our meeting.
That's which one?
Oh, wait a second.
No.
I can't go to that either.
Let's see. We don't have a meeting.
There's something going on tonight that we can't, the North Mason High School.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yep.
missed.
What's the debate?
The candidates, the North Mason Chamber of Commerce and the Community Voice is doing the candidates for the Northern Area School Board, Fire Commission, Water Commissioners, and the like. And
That's the 24th, right?
Yes.
Mental health substance abuse, that's what I have.
And with that being said, I am finished.
Okay.
And there's a whole other week after that we're not going to go into because we don't have a meeting.
Right.
So,
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
second, we are adjourned. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.